Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad you're with us today to stay curious. Today, Friday, May 9th, 2025, we've got a potpourri of news to put up there. Breaking news. We're going to talk about some astronaut diapers that are in the news lately. And we're going to talk about how much astronauts make. It's kind of an interesting side view of what is the salary to be an astronaut. And we also got, so I'm looking around here for a couple of my notes here. Oh, there they are. Going to talk about something that's crashing into Earth again. The sky is falling this weekend. So, of course, the moon is about 11 days old. So that means it's big and bright in the sky. And you'll be able to get some moonshine this weekend. The kind of moonshine you can't get too much of. So let's kick it off here as we're grateful that you're all watching today, and say hello to Marty Winkle, his last day on vacation. Hi, Marty. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Mark. How are you doing?
Good. We've had a good week, both of Stay Curious and on the business side of our American Space Museum. There's Marty, my flat Marty there, and we got Manhattan in the background there. Did you make a trip to Manhattan this time, Marty?
No, I didn't do it this time.
Well, there's
Maybe
the
next
lower
time.
end. Uh, I've lived there almost 3 years in Greenwich Village, and then up on the west side of Central Park, and an amazing place. But there's something happening to it, and about 30 other American cities that could threaten the skyscrapers and stuff. So stay curious about that. But a beautiful backdrop there, Marty. Thanks for choosing that of it in there. So let's kick off what's new in the news today. Some of it's not necessarily new, but old news can be new news. And this is all about President Harry S. Truman played a key role in establishing Cape Canaveral as a major launch site for rockets and missiles. This is May 9th, so on May 11th, Sunday, 1949, he signed legislation creating the quote Joint Long Range Proving Ground at Cape Canaveral. All right, this marked the beginning of Cape Canaveral's transformation as a facility used during the Cold War to, of course, test our military prowess up there, our military rockets and such. Uh, so Truman's decision to establish this long-range proving ground um, was a crucial step in the development of America's space program. There he is with the pens. Harry Truman, what a guy. I've been to his presidential library in his hometown outside of St. Louis. And he, very interesting president. When he retired at the end of being president, there was no money. There was no salary, pension, or anything for a president. And he kind of didn't have a lot of money, as most politicians spend all their money getting elected. And so he had to go on, one of the first presidents to go on the speaking circuit to make money. And great guy. Carlton Bailey, hello to you. Hope you get a little rain dance today. Steve Jokums, we've got your shirts in for Marty Winkle, Steve, and I'll be mailing you that Grumman shirt I'm wearing here. So many of you loved it that they tracked down that Marty did it for his Grumman reunion, and Steve Jokums is one of them that'll be having this custom shirt mailed to you, buddy. Hi, Gary Gerald, and hi, Tommy Usiak. TGIF to you, buddy. Strategic as it was, there is James Webb, the second NASA administrator, with the retired then President Truman, looking at the rockets. Truman's signature on Public Law 60 officially designated the Cape as a site for testing and launching missiles and rockets, and you all thought Eisenhower probably was the one that established this. The first launch of Bumper 8 occurred 75 years ago, this July 1950. So about a year and a half, year and a couple months after it was signed to become the Rocket Center, it did. Um, and of course, it later became Houma Kennedy Space Center, and this is part of Truman's legacy. up there. So now you know, and here's a beautiful shot of it, or there's the map of it. All of those pads were so active in the 60s, and then in about the year 2000, well, after uh, 2011 in the last shuttle, for about 7 years, 3 or 4 launches if you're lucky, and now all of those launch pads of our heritage were are going to be used by private companies, uh, and we're just sitting 10 miles across the river over there. I can't point to it up there, but in the upper left-hand corner is Titusville, and there's a shot of it from an aircraft there, up there looking into the sun. Not too great of a shot, but Harry Truman signed the public law that created our spaceport. Well, we want to give a great happy birthday to a friend of the museum, Vance Brand. Many of you active in the space community see that Vance Brand is 94 years old. He was a space shuttle commander, as well as the pilot of the Apollo-Soyuz test project. He was born in Longmont, Colorado, May 9th, 1831, and would have been a moonwalker on one of the canceled Apollo missions. Mr. Brand has helped our nonprofit museum on numerous occasions during the past 2 decades, and his handprints are out at Spaceview Park. I'll tell you a little bit about those. And Charlie Mars harvesting those. I talked to Charlie today, who's 89, and Vance was one of his good buddies. One of our favorite stories at the American Space. There he is. Vance is getting ready for Apollo Soyuz test project 50 years ago. We certainly wish we could get him to our celebration of that we're planning July 19th, Saturday, here at the museum. Never know. Maybe I'm trying to effort him, but at 94, hard maybe for them to travel at that age. But there he is. That's Deke Slayton behind him there. And during one of the tests of the docking hatch up there at the top. In our museum, Vance Brand contributed these patches of his. Now that's from Gary Allgaier, the Apollo-Soyuz project docking mechanism facsimile. Let's see, where am I going with this? There we go, with Vance in space. We love talking about the story when Vance dropped by incognito for a quick visit in our museum. In 2017, I had just been here a couple of weeks, and Vance zipped in the museum paying his senior citizen $8. He looked at the items he donated in the Apollo Test Project exhibit, then he quickly walked through the museum and left. Nobody recognized him. But Vance left a note for our staff saying to Charlie Mars, "Museum looks great!" Exclamation point. When the note was immediately handed to our late executive director, Karen Conklin, she said she came running out of her office asking, "Where's Vance?" But he quickly left a happy guest after seeing his space treasures. And we love him a lot and wish Vance continued good health. There he is. He wore his hair quite long, even longer than this, during that. And that's one reason why they didn't recognize him. He would have been on Apollo 18. But instead, he was commander of the first operational space shuttle mission, STS-5, and he commanded 2 other missions, STS-41B and 35, and quite an astronaut, a backup for Apollo missions 8 and 13, and then he was highly decorated. Of course, he's in the Astronaut Hall of Fame. And he is a great friend of our museum, Vance Brand, there on Crew 35, which was the Astro 1. I recognize the late, trying to think of his name, Sam Durant's. There's his handprints out at Spaceview Park. And I say all the time, we're the only place in the world that you can put your handprints on many Apollo, Mercury, Gemini astronauts, and Vance is no exception. Give you an idea of the process here. This is the book that Charlie Mars wrote. You can't see that very well, I'm sorry. but up at the top, there was a mold of clay basically that you had to press your hands in, and you really had to kind of pound your hands in them to get this imprint in there. So, um, but this was taken at Charlie Mars's home. Uh, he says Barbara and I were living at Kennedy Point condominiums for several years. We were planning on getting, he was working, after he worked on Space Station Freedom, Charlie was a manager of that, and planned on getting Vance during a California sweep of T.K. Mattingly, Dave Scott, and Rusty Schweiker. Before leaving on the trip, Vance called and said he'd be at Kennedy Space Center with his wife and stepson. So they met at my house, and we did the handprints there. And those of you that know Charlie, that you have probably been to his famous Marsplex in Titusville, Florida here. Hello to Connie McDaniel, Matthew, Raj, thank you for helping today. Connie volunteering all day today, helping us clean up a few messy spots around the museum. Elena Adkahara, thank you for watching. And Mitch Rothman, stand by for a little surprise there, Mitcho. Thank you for watching today. There'll still be a meeting set for Monday for Shuttlefest, our second meeting for Shuttlefest. And boy, do we have some good news to share with everybody. And hello to you, Tom Celentano. You can start saving your money now for the April 24th through 26th date of Shuttlefest there. The backside of the moon. Mark, why'd you throw the backside of the moon in there? Well, just kind of remind everybody that China has a probe on the backside of the moon for 6 years. This little U-2 rover, YUTU means Jade Rabbit, and it has been on the moon since for 6 years, 2013 operating, all right, on the backside in a crater called Von Karman. All right, now it's not moving anymore, but it has survived like 70 some lunar days and nights, which when the days 2 weeks long, and that's about all that these landers going to the South Pole will work, unless they have some sort of other, nuclear generator, which none of them have yet. But this survived the lunar nights 70 some times and is still providing data, particularly with a telescope that they have on the backside of the moon. China, by the way, says they're going to be on the moon in 2030. Here's a little bit of their infrastructure idea. They have 2 orbiters that could possibly last for the next 5 or 6 years, but you need orbiters to relay information from the backside of the moon or the South Pole to Earth, and they've already got that established. Their next lunar rover will land in 2026 at the South Pole. So designed to work for 3 months. This little rover has lasted over 6 years, and it has moved some over a mile on the surface of the moon autonomously. So just to remind y'all that it's a real deal that China wants to go to the moon, as we have our NASA budget now in throes in the hands of Congress. What's going to happen? Stay curious and stay tuned. We'll keep you on top of it as much as we can. There's Manhattan sinking there. Sinking? Yeah, I gave it away. Satellites show 28 U.S. cities are sinking, including New York City and Chicago. Infrastructure can be silently compromised. Chicago, Dallas, New York, Denver are sinking at the rate of as much as a half an inch a year. All right. Satellite radar measurements from Virginia Polytech Institute and State University developed high-resolution maps of sinking land. At least 20% of the cities were sinking in 28 of their cities they saw. In 25 of the cities, at least 65% of the city was sinking. Cities across Texas show the greatest rate of subsidence, they call, with Houston taking the lead. Now, this is not, land subsistence is not uncommon around the world, with many areas are subsiding And you'd think it's global warming cause of this? No. Natural geological processes, okay? 80% of the urban sinking is caused by groundwater removal for human use. And as cities grow, this problem may be further exasperated. So now you know that it's not global warming, it is the use of groundwater that is creating cities to sink. And look at Manhattan, built on granite, though. Still is sinking with all them big skyscrapers on there and stuff. Something to give you to think about while you're relaxing at the pool or wherever this weekend. And get beautiful days of May. Love May. It's one of my favorite months. So hope you all enjoying some cumulus cloud, blue sky days up there in Michigan and Connecticut and Illinois, where a lot of my friends today are watching. All right, what do we have up next? Astronaut Diapers. Okay. And while you might think of Astronaut Diapers and think of this mission or this crew, yes, Lisa Nowak, STS-21, the disgraced astronaut, and her that she tried to do a criminal offense in a love triangle. But she did go to space, and her commander was Mark Kelly. Well, Mark's twin brother, Scott Kelly, is shown here with this young man, is involved with a commercial about diapers for incontinence at night. Okay. And you've got Kimberly Clark has some underwear diapers for preteens, not necessarily preteens, for toddlers that are learning how to go to the bathroom. And so that they don't pee in the night, they wear these diapers. Well, some of these children and in the age 3 to 5, I would say, are a little embarrassed to do that. Well, astronauts are helping to destigmatize a common childhood experience by pointing out the similarities between some of what kids wear to bed and what astronauts wear in space. Scott Kelly, who became the first astronaut to almost spend a year in orbit, American astronaut, stars in a minute-long film made by Goodnights called Never Stop Dreaming as part of its Mission Dry campaign. The video was released by nighttime underwear brand Kimberly Clark as part of its Mission Dry campaign. It's a cute video. Go to Collect Space and our friend Robert Perlman, where I harvested this photo. And the video was released on National Astronaut Day, May 5th, when not Cinco de Mayo, but May 5th, we celebrate National Astronaut Day when Alan Shepard did the first suborbital flight for America. And Shepard said on that flight, quote, "Man, I gotta pee," on the radio to the control room atop his Redstone rocket, and check and see if I can get out quickly and relieve myself, which he didn't. He peed in his spacesuit. He felt wetness in the back of his custom-made seat. Engineers were flipping out that the moisture might go somewhere electronically and short something out. And in the name of Jose Jimenez, the comedian astronaut played by Bill Dana, he was also the first wetback to go to space. A derogatory comment about Hispanics, I'll add, at the time. So, I mean, it's derogatory now, but it was very common back then. All right, so they came up with astronauts needed to have some sort of fabric laced to catch their moisture if they had to pee. So this cute little ad that I watched, there's Kelly on the back and the little boy, they're doing a spacewalk, working in space, and the little boy says, "Uh-oh, I did something wrong. I'm going to get in trouble for," and Kelly says, "What's that?" And he says, "I peed." And Kelly says, "I just peed myself." Okay, this is Scott Kelly, the brother. Yeah, of Mark. And he said, I just peed myself. And the little boy's looking at him and goes, Houston, how many astronauts have peed themselves before? Radios Kelly after admitting to his spacewalking partner, a young boy, that he just peed in his suit. All as part of a new Good Nights campaign by Kimberly Clark for their little underwear. The boy says he did the same thing and is fearing that mission control's laughing at him. So when Kelly said how many astronauts Houston have peed themselves, a female voice on the crown replies, every single one of them. And then Kelly says, see, all astronauts come with an absorption system that helps us focus on what is important. So pee can't hold us back. No one is famous for what they do inside the suit. It's only for what they do beyond it, said Kelly. And the video ends with the boy sleeping peacefully in his bed. The whole thing was a dream. So cute little campaign, and something that the astronaut diapers have evolved into adult diapers, children's diapers, all a something that maybe we didn't talk about in the past, but certainly happened in the past. So now here on our Fun Friday a little bit about astronaut panty underwear, and how they're now ingrained in the common culture there, and a good thing for youngsters. In fact, they've even got a patch that they came up with, the prep patch. Good nights. Have a good night played on there with their panty underwear that's outlined there in like a comet on the patch. That's pretty cool. Okay. And let's see here. Dave Stangy's asking, did the Russian cosmonauts also wear diapers like Mercury astronauts did? Good question, Dave. Don't know. Don't know about that, but maybe somebody does and read a book about it. Well, let's cut to a little bit of fun stuff here. How much do astronauts get paid? Okay, what is the pay scale of astronauts? You might ask him, and I had a more. There we go. All right, there I've got that to share with us, and that's showing the hairballs, the class of 1990 there. Astronauts, and I've been asked this particularly when Butch and Sonny were up there on their extended stay, are they getting overtime pay? All right. And I said, no, they're getting astronaut pay. They're paid to be an astronaut, whether they're on the Earth in Houston, Johnson Space Center, going out and doing a talk. They get a regular salary check just like most of us do, deposited every 2 weeks or every week. And astronauts are paid on the federal government's schedule, GS, it's called the federal government's general scale, the GS pay scale, with average salaries ranging from $84,365 to $152,258 a year. So from 85 to 153,000. Their pay grade is based on their academic achievements and experience. While they don't receive overtime or hazard pay for extended stays in space, they may get a small amount per day for incidentals. And when I've researched the per day, it's way too low. I don't understand that, but you'll see why. Overtime. Astronauts do not get overtime. As we look at the bugs, which are Nicole Stock friends in there, and the bugs in there. This was the 2000 crew wearing bug hats there and shades there. A lot of good, you all recognize a lot of good people in there whom you've met. Fergie's in there. I'm not going to try to see it from that far away. No overtime. There's a small per diem amount for incidentals, potentially around $4 a day. Like $4 a day buys you a candy bar and a Kleenex maybe. So as federal employees, they receive benefits such as paid time off, health insurance, and retirement plans. All right. They don't get overtime, for example. And so what was the salary of Sonny and Butch? They were paid on their regular 40-hour-a-week salary around $152,000 a year. They are the most very experienced astronauts. They're a government Schedule 14 up at the top, pushing it along. Now, if you're military, you probably get some military pension, other military grade stuff on top of that. Uh, while on the International Space Station, their transportation, meals, and lodging are covered. Okay. So, unlike the astronauts whose meals, transportation, and lodging I was paying for at Shuttle Fest, they consider that part of their job. They do not receive overtime pay for their extended stay. So now you know. Who made the most bucks as an astronaut? Well, he's standing here with our good friend Mitch Rothman, of course, the man Neil Armstrong, who earned $27,401 for the Apollo 11 mission. Now that's $27,069. So you just quickly put a zero behind all that. So it's like $274,000 in 1970s money. Of course, he walked on the moon in '69, but so he was paid pretty good there as the moonwalker. Don't know if that was compensation for being the first moonwalker. Don't know what Buzz was paid for being the second. It had to be pretty close to what Neil got. But Neil had X-15 pay, see, built up, and some other awards and things like that. But great picture with you, Mitch Rothman, of the man, Neil Armstrong, of course, the great Buckeye from Wapakoneta, Ohio, just about 80 miles south of where I grew up in Findlay, Ohio. So now you know you don't get very rich. It's an upper class pay scale, of course. But now some of these astronauts did parlay their money into fame. One of them, very notable, is Alan Shepard, who became the first astronaut to be a millionaire. He took his money and parlayed it into real estate around Houston as it was growing. Pretty smart thing for him to do. But he was a very shrewd businessman also. Just because you're an astronaut don't mean you're a shrewd businessman either. So, all right, let's get, as we're getting close to the end of our Stay Curious program here, hope you're enjoying. Let's go a little bit of Friday space news, and something that will be in the news tomorrow and tonight is the sky is falling again, and again. And it's crashing into me. What's crashing into me is a Soviet-era spacecraft launched 53 years ago, intended to land on the planet Venus, is set to re-enter the Earth sometime tonight, Friday night. The U.S. Space Force is saying around 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is very unpredictable, but they do know that when the size of this payload, how much it weighs, and when it hits a certain point in the orbit, they know it's going to come down. It can't stay up anymore. Cosmos 482, which would have been called Venera 12, was intended to launch and land on the planet Venus. Because it had a special re-entry surface to it, so it would survive the re-entry of the 30-mile thick Venusian atmosphere down to the surface. Since the rocket that launched it had a problem and didn't get it even out of Earth orbit, they've been watching it diligently for 53 years, and there on the right, or there on the left, is the spacecraft. Okay, it had parachutes on it, of course, to bring it down. All right, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on the surface when all this unfolds. But there's a lot of amateur satellite hunters that have fabulous equipment that photograph the space station all the time. And here they photographed pictures above me the space probe orbiting the Earth, and it appears that the parachute has come out of it. So it may have gone through its time. A lot of Soviet spacecraft have timers on them, so that in case they lose contact with the Earth, they automatically time out what they're supposed to be doing for a mid-course correction, for example, or landing on the surface of Venus. So if it orbited the Earth at about the 3 to 6 month phase, it would have thought it was going through the surface. I think it takes 3 months to get there, and it thought it was going through the surface, so the timer would make the parachute come out. So definitely there's a parachute out that's going to get burned up in the atmosphere there. Isn't that pretty cool? We can know that. Where's it going to land? Where's it going to land? Okay. Well, of course, they're downplaying this because over 70% of the Earth is water. NASA said the landing location could be anywhere between 52 degrees north and 52 degrees south latitude. Well, that's like most of the populated Earth: Africa, Australia, much of North America, South America, large portions of Europe and Asia. So you might want to stay up tonight and look around after midnight and see if anything comes crashing down. Uh, Most of the debris already fell back decades ago, but this is a half-ton spherical landing capsule, meaning that the rocket that put it up there probably came back. It's 3 feet across, was designed to operate on fiery hot Venus. It could survive re-entry through Earth's atmosphere, according to many scientists who've been tracking it and posting updates. So there's what it looked like on the surface of Venus. All right, and Russia landed 3 Venera space probes, and there's a color photo from the last one. This was in the 1974 to 76 time frame. And Venus, hot as hell, Earth's twin in size, but a hellish world, 900 degrees, so hot that the rocks are flat, melted down there in that dramatic photo that we've not seen the likes of since then. So the sky's falling. Put your hard hats on while you're sleeping, or just be aware. I'm not so sure that this thing's going to safely just make it to the Pacific Ocean. You never know. So we'll see. And there's a Falcon launch tonight. Carlton Bailey says. And I think I don't have the time on that. Shoot me the time of that, CB. Mitch Rothman said he met Neil Armstrong on 3 occasions. We'll have to talk about that next time you're on here. So I hope y'all get outside and look at the moonlight a little bit. The moon is going to be gibbous phase. It's going to be next to a real bright star directly directly east, okay, where the sun rises. When the sun sets, look behind, put the sun behind you, and when it gets dark, looking east, you're going to see the moon. And that is Spica, which means sheath of wheat in Arabic. And Virgo the Virgin also was thought to be this giant constellation that you can't see many of the stars even in the moonlight. You'll be lucky to see those 2 up above there. And Spica. Purity for Virgo, the Virgin Maiden, plus she represented fertility, growing things like wheat, so important to the ancient world there. So get out there and get you a little bit of moonshine on your face. It'll be full moon on Tuesday, and we call that the flower moon of May for obvious reasons there. So, Marty, you still with me?
Still here, Mark.
All right, Marty. Well, appropriate. I put this slide up there for you, brother, to thank you for a great week of helping us remotely. Give Marty a big hand there for letting the show go on, and we appreciate that a lot, Marty. So, there's Jessie. She's laughing at the title that I have there of Diapers in Space there. So, my daughter Jessie, I presume that is. So thank you all for watching this week. Hope you enjoyed a little trip around space news today, things that you probably didn't know about. If you did, hope I said everything correctly. And if I don't, I know you'll correct me quickly there. So look at this beautiful shirt there, okay? Mitch, you've got one in a lighter colored blue. Steve Jokums will have his name over here. It's hard to do this, and you're backwards when I look at myself on there. So, and Dave Stang, he says, safe travel home, Martys. We all wish you have happy landings tomorrow. and can't wait to see you here in our studio. And it's a 2:28 a.m. launch, Carlton Bailey said, for you local people. About 50% go for weather. We're supposed to get some hellacious storms, like midsummer type storms tonight with the lightning and all. So everybody, be careful of that. And if you got animals, hope they're not too flipped out by the lightning. So anyway, thank you all for a great week here of Stay Curious at the American Space Museum. Can't wait to put some shows together tomorrow. We're already talking to some of our regular guests. Go for the rest of the month, meaning Nick Thomas will be here on Monday the 19th, lining up Terry White to talk about the shuttle garage. And if you missed it, go back and look at a great program by Bob Granath on Hangar S, the legendary Mercury astronaut training center, Cape Canaveral. Until next time, I'm thanking you and saying I can't wait to see you again, because I'm Mark Marquette and I want to bridge the space between us. Thank you.
It's a wrap.
Okay. Yep. No, the mics are off. The mics are, well, this mic's on. Okay, that mic's on. There, now it's off. Okay. Now I see.